Okay, small hiatus, but we're back. And sitting across from me is someone I think is one of the wisest people to come out of the online scene. I've watched him from afar for quite a while. I've commended the way you carry yourself, not only in business, but I think in life in general. And I wanted to say that to you on camera because the way I discovered you was the story you told about Solomon. And he could have asked for wealth, he could have asked for fame, but he asked for wisdom, right? That's how I try and navigate life. And we're going to touch on many topics: business, soul, spirituality. But I want to start with, first of all, address where we are. We're in a cathedral because I wanted to, I believe that your thoughts are directly related to your environment. The quality of thought that you receive is directly related to your environment. If we're in a small space, confined space, our thoughts will be confined. So, on that note, to people who don't know who you are, firstly, please introduce yourself and tell me your mission as well.
Yeah, Luke Belmar. If you haven't seen me on your timeline, you probably will at some point. Came from Argentina to the United States. That's pretty much where I started my entrepreneurial journey, which is what most people know me for. At the age of 16, $200 in a suitcase. Started by pressure washing basketball courts, cleaning toilets, anything that I could do in order to hustle, make my way to any sort of financial stability. It's where most people have been. And the reason most people resonate with me is because of my come-up story. My come-up story is one that a lot of people are today experiencing, which is the digital gold rush, the ability to make money on the internet. I was one of the early guys, not super early, not early 2000s, but the first wave of true e-commerce and the first wave of crypto that really started taking over the internet and social media. I was making money on Instagram since 2013. So I've been around the social media space for a while. The point is, I started from nothing, and I've been able to build incredible businesses, been able to level up, build an incredible community, and today travel the world and have the ability to impact millions of people with a very simple message, which is to become the fullest version and the best version of yourself. And as content is one of these things that allows your business to scale, it simply and naturally made sense to make some content. The content went viral, and here we are today.
On that note, I did want to touch on thoughts. And one of my favorite books is As a Man Thinketh. I reread it twice a year or so. What do you think about how thoughts create reality and how they control reality?
I mean, everything originates in the mind. The idea is what inspires the opportunity for you to get up and pursue a business. The inspiration that you observe and you think about, when you observe an athlete win, and that inspires you to endeavor and work hard and become an athlete yourself. Everything originates in the mind. That's why the system is after your mind. From the moment you're born, they start indoctrinating you with the school system. They indoctrinate you with, what's important, what's not important. They attribute your self-worth and your value to what you have to give to the system as opposed to who you are as an individual. So when I begin to evaluate kind of the entirety of how society works, most people don't focus on their mindset. Most people are focused on exterior factors. They think that everything that happens to them is by chance. And they don't realize that a lot of the things that happen to them are things that they attract. Because you attract the things that you are, and you are what you do, and you do what you think about. So it's all a cyclical loop. Mm-hmm. Most people don't understand the power of the mind. That's why they haven't tapped into the power of the mind. And the power of the mind is one very simple thing: the ability to direct your attention towards a specific given objective, and then to have the willpower to pursue it. Most people, obviously, don't know where they're going because they never have a goal. You need to have a clear goal. If you don't have a goal, you don't know where you're going to go in life. If I ask you today, what's your financial goal for this year, for the next 5 years, for the next 10 years? Would you be able to answer? Would you be able to say, yeah, this is my goal? And I'm not talking about how many millions of dollars you want to have. I'm talking about the positioning. What type of business are you going to have that's going to generate cash flow? What type of investments do you want to have? You need to be able to be very specific about the life that you want, about who you want to become. Mindset, your ability to develop thoughts, is extremely important because your thoughts dictate and create your reality. Thoughts lead to actions, actions lead to behaviors, and behavior leads to lifestyle.
Agreed. And I think you touched on a point there, how people think a lot of it is down to luck. And I think that's what they call external locus of control, right? Whereas people who are positioned correctly, such as yourself, have an internal locus of control, which means they believe they have more control over reality than most people. Do you think your thoughts are even your own?
No. I mean, the thoughts that you capture, whether you believe it or not, are based off of your surroundings, your environment, and your programming. You and I can both look at one thing, an object, and have two completely different set of thoughts based off of our programming, based off of our upbringing, based off of our behavior. You could look at a flag and feel disgusted. I could look at a flag and be like, I feel patriotic. It all depends on the context. So many times the thoughts that we have are not our own, but it doesn't mean that that thought is necessarily bad. What a person must do is look at the thought and ask themselves, is this thought legitimate? Is this thought valid? Does it serve me? Mm-hmm. Not whether it's right, whether it's wrong. Like sometimes when I was broke, I would invite myself to a nice dinner. My mind would tell me, hey, like you can't afford that. Like you shouldn't be going out. But then I said, well, I want to experience this because if I experience it, I'll be able to want it more. Mm-hmm. How am I supposed to want something that I haven't experienced? Mm-hmm. So, okay, well, let me experience a nicer dinner. And now I have something to work towards. Well, I want more of this experience. What I've come to realize about mindset and thoughts, and then I want to ask you about what you think about it, is not only that it originates from your context and your environment, but it also comes from how you position yourself. Mm-hmm. The environment, the friends, the music, the food, all these things are choices that you get to make that once again are a factor to all the components that are taking place to develop, free thinking or develop a worldview, but it's definitely important. What do you think?
I think the mind acts as a radio receiver, and the frequency to which you tune it determines the quality of thought you receive. So if you're tuned into a negative radio station and the avenue to do that is through your programming.
So once again, how do you tune the radio station?
Yeah, awareness, I believe, like you said earlier.
How do you develop awareness?
I think there's a lot of ways, but I always go back to meditation.
So action.
Yeah.
Right, so it all comes down to how you behave.
Yeah.
How you behave dictates and controls the quality of your thoughts because it's what dictates how you position yourself. Mm-hmm. So it all comes down to action. That's why there's formulas and recipes to success, which is what I talk about.
Yeah.
There's ways to win. When I meet entrepreneurs, I can tell whether they're going to succeed or not based off of the patterns and behaviors that they instill and that they showcase in their life. Mm-hmm. I know people that are going to lose in life and people that are going to win based off of what? Their behavioral patterns. Mm-hmm. Patterns repeat themselves all across the universe. Yeah. So we understand that for every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. So if you see somebody inputting negative behaviors, you can very much dictate what the outcome is going to be. Yeah. Once again, if you understand these things, you begin to act in accordance to that which you want. Mm-hmm. And the mindset isn't something that you have to have turned on all the time. That's what people neglect. The mindset is just supposed to direct you. And once you have the direction, you just have to go. Mm-hmm. Most people, once again, they don't set the direction and they don't have the steps on how to get there. That's why mentors are important. That's why community is important. That's why understanding and surrounding yourself with people that are older and more experienced is important, because it's going to give you the data sets and the information in order to navigate.
Yeah, I agree. I think one thing you touched on earlier before was that you invited yourself to the dinner, right? And I think that was you tapping into the correct combinations of patterns that would occur in that experience if you could afford it. And that gave you the insight into what it feels like. And because you installed that in your mind, that's a big factor of the action that you took. So it's all, like you said, a feedback loop. So I think it's very important to expose yourself. We'll talk about positioning, but also exposure. I think exposure to, if you want the finer things in life, then the finer things in life is going to break that barrier of the limiting beliefs that you have in your mind.
Exposure to what? Exposure to feedback. So what is feedback? Feedback is information. So once you receive feedback, let's say you go and experience something, you need to go and do some self-analysis and ask yourself, okay, how do I experience more of this, or how do I not experience this again? Like if you fuck up, you should do some introspection and some feedback analysis on why is it that you did what you did and how do you not repeat it. Most people are in feedback loops of negativity. They don't know how to exit them because they don't stop and analyze the feedback. So the loops that they're in, they're stuck. So what you need to do is position yourself like a stoic outside of your thoughts, your emotions, position yourself out there, observe what is taking place and ask yourself, how do you correct it and how do you improve it? The scientific method is the method that I utilize as a basic framework for determining whether something is going to be useful for me or not. The scientific method is very simple. You know, you go from observation to analysis, to thesis, to hypothesis, to testing, to observing, and then to, if you have to, iterate. And then you continue until you find truth. Science is the pursuit of truth, right? So what you need to do is have a pattern as to how you think, a model of thinking that lets you filter truth. If I ask you right now, how do you filter a thought, whether it's true or not? Do you have a process of thought that you go through? Most people don't, but you can develop one very quickly. That's why most people fall prey to propaganda. They can't. That's why when you tell people, hey, you know, COVID was obvious. It was a scam. Well, how did you know? Well, the patterns were there. You just did not have the wherewithal to observe them, but they were there. I'm not alone. Hundreds of millions of people observed the same thing that I observed, but you didn't. Why? And this is the pattern recognition that determines whether you have the ability to freely think or not. And these molds, these filters, are going to help you determine whether you have the ability to find truth or whether you're going to be stuck in some matrix feedback loop that somebody's told you about.
Do you think we're all connected by thought? There's some sort of joint consciousness. There's a mind saying lakik alakin, and that basically means that I'm just another you.
I mean, once again, if we're receivers of information and we're operating off of a frequency, you can vibe with somebody by being in the same frequency state. That's why when two people smoke a joint, they can hang out together because they're in the same vibe. That's pretty much the most basic example for the average person to understand. When you go to a concert, you're listening to the same music, the same vibes, the same frequencies. You start, getting in rhythm. You go in bed, you cuddle with your girl, your heart start beating at the same pace. You feel connected, right? You're vibrating at the same frequency. Many instances of life. So yes, you can be connected, but you can also be highly disconnected to people because you're in a completely different plane of reality. So it also depends on where you are. But once again, you'll attract the people that you deserve to attract based off of who you are.
I agree. What's your relationship with God like? And what does God mean to you even?
What is God?
That's my question to
I'm
you.
asking you, bro. That's a deep question. I don't know, man.
To me, I think it's inconceivable. God is inconceivable, yet conceivable. I think is the ultimate paradox. You can experience through life, through your own unique path, and it's a feeling. I don't think it can be necessarily communicated to someone. If you take a very devout, let's say Christian or Muslim, and an atheist, the way they try and communicate that message of God to the atheist, it just won't resonate with them until they have the experience of feeling themselves.
So what's your question?
What's God to you, and what's your relationship with a creator?
I mean, when you ask for wisdom, why do you ask for wisdom? You ask for wisdom to find truth. I mean, at the end of the day, we're all looking for truth. We're all looking for answers. What is true? What is not true? So I would say the pursuit of truth is what's driving me now to find who God is. So still hunting.
I think it's a lifelong hunt.
Yes.
So once you see past the illusion, in Hinduism they call it Maya, and it's the cosmic illusion, right? And you see past the veil, behind the veil, your spirit wants something else. You no longer really care about the material world or anything it has to offer. Do you think that's a dangerous game?
What game?
The pursuit of truth.
I mean, you still have to play the game. You know what I mean? Like if you're still bound to you still have bills.
Yeah, exactly.
Like
yeah.
do you want to live a shitty life or do you want to live a good life? I don't care if the earth is the shape of a Dorito or it's flat, round. I don't care. I got things that I still have to do in the real world. You know, a lot of people that go down these metaphysical kind of trails, they lose themselves to the simplicity of life. You know, like the most beautiful things in life are to be enjoyed by experiences. You know, all these people do 50, 100 years of meditation to come down to the conclusion of being present. Like, and not holding on to shit.
Yeah.
Like, okay, just don't hold on to shit and be grateful for being in the present moment. You know, so once again, yeah, man, that's a complex question. But to me, it really comes down to like, your relationship with God. It's definitely a personal thing. I'm still kind of in the exploration of it. But yeah, that's a loaded one.
Yeah. Have you read by any chance Untethered Soul?
No.
It's by Michael Singer. One of the questions he asks in there is, who are you? So if I was to ask you, who are you? How would you answer that?
I don't know. I spawned here, you know, consciousness. I'm playing this video game. It looks like fucking Call of Duty.
Looks real. Yeah.
You know, I took a mushroom trip once and I kind of like disconnected from my body. And I'm like, whoa, this thing's weird.
What was that like?
Weird. Have you done mushrooms?
No.
You should.
Not opposed?
There you go. Okay, why not? Anyways, so, you know, you spawn here, you're trying to figure shit out. You're trying to figure life out. People are 30, 40, 50 years old, and they're pressured by society into acting like they know how life is and what life is about and that they have things figured out. And the reality is we're all children. We're all still trying to figure it out. And if you have a student's mind, truth, you know, there's a verse in the Bible that says, you shall know the truth and the truth shall set you free. Another verse says, seek and you shall find, knock and it shall be answered unto you. So once you pursue something, that thing that you're pursuing also attracts itself to you. It's the law of magnetism. Whatever you are, you attract. So, you know, when you're praying and you're grateful, that's the elevated thought that you're bringing into creation, into existence. The idea of creation, right? The idea of creating things is the materialization of these thoughts. You ask God to give you patience, right? But then he gives you a challenging situation for you to show patience, and you complain that, you know, like it's a hard time in life. Well, you ask God to teach you something. It's supposed to be difficult. It's supposed to be challenging. The divine is a complexity thing, bro. But at the end of the day, it can be simplified to actions, the very basic things of life. You know, people start arguing about all this metaphysical stuff, but the simple things in life always trump all, at least in my opinion.
I think it's this.
I don't like complicating it, bro.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I don't think it's, when you break it down to the simplest form, I just think it's when I ask who you are, that you're just the essence, right? You're just
you're just chilling, dude. You're just chilling. Yeah, I don't know what I am, bro.
The Matrix, right? You talk about the Matrix, talk about the elites and whatnot. Have you heard of Plato's cave? Allegory cave? All right. So I wanted to ask, what do you think the utility in conspiracy theories are? Do you think there's a point where you reach and after a while it's useless?
I mean, it depends on what you use it for. You know, at the end of the day, most conspiracy theories happen to be true, which is kind of crazy. But at the end of the day, you need to ask yourself, you know, what do you learn from 9/11? Okay, that it was an inside job. Okay, cool. What does that tell you? That there's going to be more of them. What does that tell me? That I need to get rich and get out so that I'm not bound to the system. Whatever vertical you take me down, the first solution, the first thing is self-develop, have a good spiritual relationship with God, and then make some money.
Yeah.
All the problems can be boiled down to a couple simple solutions. So it doesn't matter what conspiracy, left, right, center, tsunamis, end of the world, zombies, werewolves, well, you can name it. It boils down to those simple things. How well developed are you? How spiritually and mentally strong you are? And do you have money to be able to output any bad situation?
Yeah. Yeah. And
I think about the input, bro. I think about what I can control, what I can do.
Yeah, that was
So
what I
many
was
people
heading.
are stuck on their phone thinking about fucking aliens and conspiracies all day long. I'm like, bro, just go for a walk.
Yeah.
Go do some push-ups.
Honestly, a walk solves 95% of problems, I think.
Go do some push-ups, motherfucker. Like, take your girl out to dinner. Like, chilling, bro. Relax.
And
Did I cuss in the church? I'm sorry.
you're good. You're good. In business, one thing I find interesting is how people, not even in business, just in life in general, is how people seek counsel, how they pick the friends and people around them. Do you have a go-to system aside from intuition that helps you filter people around you?
Of course. In the multitude of counsel, there's wisdom. So you just have to know who you're asking advice from and for what reason. You know, I can ask somebody in my friendship group about business advice, and that maybe I can't ask them about relationship advice. But maybe somebody I can ask about relationship advice and not about travel advice or about watches, or different friends for different people and different information from different people. So what I've come to really want to understand is, once I seek for wisdom, okay, who am I seeking it from? And what is their intention when they talk to me? Mm-hmm. Are they trying to persuade me? Are they trying to seduce me? Are they trying to lie to me? Or they do, even if they have their best interest in mind, are they even qualified to give me their wisdom and their advice? Are they even intelligent? A lot of people talk. Most people don't have the credentials to back up their thoughts. And ego, hubris, gives you the confidence that makes you feel like your thought is worth something, when most thoughts are actually worthless. That's why when you say something out loud that you were thinking about, you're like, okay, well, that was kind of dumb. Or that joke actually wasn't that funny. Because sometimes we think things that are not real. And many times we want to give advice about things that we shouldn't be giving advice about. That's why most people, everybody should question what I say. Anything that anybody says should be questioned and examined, because there can be a lot of nonsense inside of any vertical. So take advice. In the multitude of counsel, there's wisdom, but ask yourself, is the person that I'm taking advice from somebody worth listening to? Is this person living the life or has done what I want to do? And do they have the expertise and pedigree and experience to actually give me this information and advice? And if the answer is no, then don't listen to them. If the answer is yes, take it, analyze it, and act.
Yeah, because I recently made a video on the same thing, talking about how it's very important to develop the skill of critically thinking and not just taking on the opinions of your favorite influences and regurgitating the opinion and, not thinking for yourself. But you need experience to think for yourself as well at the same time. On ego that you spoke about, do you think ego death is a good thing or a bad thing? Or do you think ego should be used in a specific way? Or do you think we should avoid all forms of ego?
What's ego?
Ego, I'm talking about in the sense of arrogance.
Okay, so what do you think?
I believe that ego is a tool that was given to us. It wasn't there to be completely destroyed, but we were made to be made aware of it.
Okay, but what is ego?
I think arrogance, acting out of arrogance, acting like you're bigger than yourself, acting like you're bigger than other people, looking down on other people because of your position.
Okay, so it's just a neutral thing?
Well,
So positive or negative?
depends how you use it, right?
Yeah, so then just use it well.
So you don't think it should be completely destroyed?
I mean, use it to motivate yourself. If you're belittling people, then that's on you. You're just living in an illusion, right? If you think you're better than others, you're just dumb.
Yeah.
You can think you're better than others, that's fine, but it's not real.
Mm-hmm.
But you can lie yourself into the delusion of, hey, you know what? Maybe I can become a multimillionaire. Maybe I can actually retire my parents out of poverty and out of a bad job. So you can use ego towards saying like, hey, you're the man. Mm-hmm. 100%. As long as you don't trump other people and trample people along the way. Yeah.
Yeah. So as you mentioned earlier, we live in a golden age, right now. I think there's independent educators, independent artists, independent everything. So in a way, there's no excuse really to not make something of yourself. What would you say to the people that feel like they feel like other people are built different?
They are. People are built different. That's why they're better. You have to rebuild yourself if you want a different life. Like you expect to be a loser with winning results, and it doesn't. Like your brain isn't getting the signal that your life is shit because you're shit. Excuse me, once again. You know what I mean? Yeah. So if your life is not great, it's because you are messing up. That's the name of the game. But unsuccessful people, broke people, instead of looking at themselves in the mirror and assuming responsibility, they want to point it. Because it sucks to be like, hey, my life sucks because I suck. Yeah. It's not easy. I get it 100%. However, when you win in life, hey, you're the first one to raise the hand and be like, hey, I did it. But with that same level of responsibility, you now can dictate what? Your behaviors. So just start inputting positive behaviors, man.
Yeah. Yeah, accountability, I think, is the most important and common trait I've found amongst high performers. On accountability, actually, how far do you think that goes? Do you think you're responsible for not only your actions, but the actions of other people around you as well?
No. You're just responsible for what you do. You're responsible for how you act and how you react to situations that come your way. You'd be surprised how much a good attitude controls a situation, how much control you have of a room and an environment based off of your behavior and your tendency. Somebody always sets the tempo, right? So are you responsible for how other people operate? No, not at all. But can you inspire people to operate a specific way? Absolutely.
We spoke earlier about positioning, right? There's one clip I saw that I really like the example that you gave about banks, right? And where the word bank comes from and where currency comes from, and positioning yourself correctly with the correct network. How do you think, how much do you think understanding money, understanding banks, understanding the flow of things will change things for people?
So it's all about opportunity. You need to go to where the attention is to find opportunity. There's times in crypto where there's massive opportunity because that's where the attention is. So if you position yourself ahead of time, you're going to reap better rewards, or you're going to increase your odds of success. Why? Because you're just positioned better. If you're chasing after an opportunity, like you're chasing a stock that you weren't buying early and getting prepared for, you're chasing it, you're not going to have the same experience. You're not going to have the same level capture of opportunity. So positioning is key, and positioning is important because positioning gives you the ability to anticipate. Remember, we talked about pattern recognition. Pattern recognition lets you anticipate what's going to take place. You know the winter is coming, so you go a couple months before winter rolls around to get ready for what? For winter. Why? Because you know that there's a pattern. There's a pattern for everything in life. How the banks move money, there's a pattern for that. There's a pattern on when elections take place and how the markets react to those elections, how the markets react when different disasters take place. You can analyze patterns, and the best people that analyze patterns make the best predictions. It's all about predictions. Because we talked about this idea of luck, right? And that luck doesn't exist. But what exists is your edge or your probability. And you get your edge and your probability and your information from observation, from observing the things around you. Once you observe the things around you, you identify patterns and you place your bets towards that endeavor. When you start a business, let's say you want to launch an app, you're betting on user demand. You're betting on people still using the app store. You're betting on people downloading your product. If not, you wouldn't do it. But that's a bet. That's a calculated risk that you're taking based off of where you see the world headed. So if you can position yourself ahead of time and you get it right, you can win.
I think luck is interesting. I think luck, you can increase your surface area for luck, right? Like you said, through positioning, through putting more shots out, through picking up things that you wouldn't have picked up before, because new ideas tend, for me anyway, to come from questions I haven't asked before, or books I haven't read before, or people I haven't spoke to before. So I think luck it can be manufactured in a way.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I agree with you.
In terms of business, again, how important is it for someone to understand how pivotal the vehicle they're in business changes their likelihood of success, or the ceiling in which they can succeed?
I mean, think about it. You want a path of least resistance to the top of the mountain. When people look at the money that they're making and then the amount of effort that it takes them to make that money, they're like, you know what? At least I worked hard for my money. Bro, money gets printed out of fucking thin air. You need to figure out how to make as much of it for the least amount of effort as possible. Why? Because there's dudes out there that are fucking printing it. I don't think you understand. They're literally printing it, and you're out here working for it, slaving away. So you need to ask yourself, how can I get as much money as possible for the least amount of effort? So you need to start a business. You need to be able to understand how to arbitrage. You need to learn how to sell. You need to learn how to market. These basic skills, because the assumption that you're going to find security in a job is a fallacy. They can fire you for any of a million reasons tomorrow. Your skills are what's going to determine if you stay afloat or not, if you have the ability to make money. The job doesn't count. The idea of having a side hustle that you're not actually fully invested doesn't count. You need to be focused on making money. Money is the name of the game. You have to take care of it.
Yeah. Yeah, because I think a lot of people get trapped in a vehicle that is...
It's the wrong one, dude. 10 years to get the app to profitability, getting investors, half-assing a business, not going all in. All these things are roadblocks.
Yeah.
But when you boil all these things down, what are we trying to accomplish? We're trying to make money. We're trying to be productive. We're trying to gain freedom.
Yeah.
In order to gain freedom, you have to have some sort of financial security under your belt.
Yeah.
So whatever business you boil it down to, why would you start something complex until you have your foundation secured? You need to have your foundation secured. Play the game, the low-hanging fruit, what's easily accessible in front of you.
And creativity there. So you reap what you sow, right? How important is it for me? I try to tell people to detach from the outcome and just attach to the process instead, because that's all you've got. And the process is molding you and you're molding it at the same time. How does someone operate through detachment?
It's about being present, man. If all you get overwhelmed about going to the gym today because you are thinking about the fact that you're going to have to go to the gym every single day for the rest of your life in order to, and of course you get overwhelmed. If you just say, hey, today I'm going to the gym because I am the type of person that goes to the gym, therefore I go to the gym, you go. If you're thinking about, the 10-year business plan, you're going to get overwhelmed and not be able to operate today because you're not doing the fact in the business that you're supposed to be doing today. Okay, I need to send this invoice. Okay, the facts that my business is operating in this capacity and these are the stats and these are the numbers of today, not tomorrow, gives you what? The foundation to build out into the future. The future is merely what? The cumulative of every single day put together. Every day is literally the laying down. This church, this is the same example. Everything was built individual, brick by brick by brick. After now you see a beautiful building, but every brick was laid out individually. If you don't lay down half of the bricks right, this building wouldn't exist. It would come crumbling down. So it's the cumulative of every single day, efforts consistently over an extended period of time that are going to dictate whether you win at life or not.
Compound effects, right? Eighth wonder. On skill stacking, I think skill stacking is one of the most important things you can do. And one video I made recently was about becoming multi-dimensional, right? So one of the quotes that you love and I love as well by Da Vinci, which is one of your mentors, you say, right, was the understand the science of art, understand the art of science, right? And it all connects. For people to be not only successful in business, but in the rest of their lives, how important is it to develop the ability to connect like opposing ideas or one topic from one area into another area? Do you think that's a useful skill? And how would someone go about developing it?
Well, the reason that everything connects to everything else is because you're interacting with it. So it's how you perceive life and who you are that's going to dictate how you see everything. You'll interact with your marriage, your relationships, your business partners, your employees, your colleagues, the same way you operate with everybody because it's who you are. The reason skill stacking is extremely important is because it gives you the ability to, one, become multidimensional, which we talked about. Two, it's understanding that the skills that you're stacking can also be applied to different areas of life. That's why I call them interchangeable or interlinked skill sets. How you sell, for example, you can utilize selling in your relationship with your children, in the relationship with your business partners, in your contract deals. Persuasion, you can utilize it in multiple verticals of life. So you can take your toolkit or your set of skills and apply it to multiple dimensions, your ability to negotiate, your ability to market. That's why skill stacking is super important at an early age, because it positions you and gives you an advantage over people that are very niched in the marketplace. You see a lot of people that, practice some sort of profession. They're a dentist or they're a doctor, but their financial literacy skills are terrible. Why? Because they're very unidimensional. And in life, being well-rounded, fully dimensional is what's going to give you the advantage. So it's about establishing a solid foundation of interchangeable, interlinked skills. And then 2, it's determining that, once again, you can't learn everything. So what are the things that you want to learn, and why do you want to learn them? There needs to be a reason behind it. And once you find a reason, and it doesn't always have to have an ROI, it can merely be something that you enjoy to do towards an end goal, then you start mastering them. And once everything comes together, you end up like somebody that is like Leonardo da Vinci, a polymath, a master of the arts, the sciences. He wasn't perfect at everything. There's things, 99% of the things of the world he never even understood or could do. Mm-hmm. But he was an expert with anatomy. He was an artist. He was a painter. He was an architect. So you can master different things. But once again, today we live in a society where you have to incorporate financial equations, because money is what's going to give you the ability to actually go out and build multidimensional skill sets.
Agreed. Well put. I think overall it just makes you an interesting person. Unidimensional people.
And it gives you the ability to experience life better.
Yeah, because you can relate to anything, right? You can draw on your experience from business in your relationship or in your fitness journey back to something you learned about stoicism. So we talk about intention, and most people are unintentional, completely unintentional. I think winning in life is subjective because people can want different things, but I do think it's intentional. How do you go about being more intentional?
Winning is about accomplishing your goal. If you say you're going to accomplish it, if you accomplish it, you win. If you don't accomplish it, you lose. Mm-hmm. That's it. No philosophy, no science. If you say you're going to do something, you don't do it, you lost. Mm-hmm. You're a loser until you do the winning habit, until you perform the winning behavior, and until you receive the winning outcome. Mm-hmm. Winners win, losers lose. It's very simple, bro. You do it or you don't do it.
And what do you think about purpose? Do you think everyone is given a unique gift that they are on the journey of uncovering? Or do you think that is their gift is discovered through experience? Or do you think there is no gift? You are thrown into different facets of life, and then whatever you develop and become the best at, that's the path that you go down.
I guess purpose is whatever you want it to be. You can have a deep intrinsic purpose, and you can have a very shallow basic one. Mm-hmm. If your purpose is to have a great life and you don't care about money, then your life will portray that. If your purpose is to help a lot of people and you want to make money in order to do that, then your life will portray that. If you want to be a family man and that's your purpose, then your life will portray that. There isn't necessarily a right or a wrong when it comes to purpose. It all comes down to, is your life purpose driven? What is purpose? Goal. Mm-hmm. Goal orientation, right? Do you have somewhere that you're headed? Most people find themselves in a place of distress because they find themselves in a place of limbo. Mm-hmm. They don't know where they're going. If they just had something, even that's why people find so much confidence and so much, mental stability in the gym, because it's something that they can look forward to, that they know it exists, that they can accomplish. But it's a great stepping stool. It's a great beginning point. But you have to have that purpose, that goal setting in order to be able to navigate life. Purpose is extremely important because it gives you aim, it gives you direction.
Yeah, I think it was Aristotle or Seneca or something that said that the man who knows not where he goes, no wind is favorable, right? So you have no idea if an opportunity comes to you, but you don't know where your purpose is heading, you don't know if that opportunity is good or bad for you, because you don't have any idea where the port you're sailing to. So, yeah, I think also purpose is discovered through experience, but your intuition is always telling you what your purpose is. So that would be my next question. What do you think intuition is?
These are crazy questions. Intuition, your ability to perceive. Your ability to be aware of the information that's around you.
Yeah.
however sensitive you are to the information is determined on whether your receiver of information, which we were talking about, the brain, the mind, you as an individual, is full of static, or if it's ready to receive information. That's why prayerful states, are so revered, because you are positioning yourself to receive inspiration and things of this nature. Yeah, it's a tough one, bro.
Yeah.
You're asking me some deep questions. I like it.
Yeah, I think intuition is our sixth sense. And the senses are not exactly to be trusted, because we know that, for example, with our vision, we can only see 0.1% or something of the light spectrum. So that's proof enough that you can't trust your senses. But I do believe your intuition is your sixth sense. That's always talking to you through the layers of your programming that's been installed in your mind. And it's just about chipping away. I think it's Michelangelo who speaks about the angel that's in the marble block. And he already sees it before he starts carving. And I think it's the same with yourself. It's the same with your purpose. It's already inside of you, but you just have to chisel away the programming and the layers. And everything comes down to programming, layers, programming. You're just a collection of experiences. So intuition is really the one thing you can only trust, in my opinion. Do you think intuition can be altered? Do you think other people can?
100%.
Yeah?
Yeah, you can disrupt intuition by confusing people. Absolutely, happens all the time. That's why most people live unhappy lives.
Well, happiness. You touched on it on a episode I saw recently. What do you think about happiness? What do you think? And you said in the episode that, what if we were not here to be happy? Can you expand on that?
Yeah, life is a full range of emotions. You're not here to pursue happiness. It's not that experiencing happiness isn't something that you shouldn't want more than experiencing pain. Obviously, I'm going to want pleasure more than I want pain. It only makes sense. But life is a range of emotions.
Yeah.
To not want to experience something, one, is inevitable. But two, it's the fear of the pain that comes attached to that you don't want. When you understand that that's naturally a part of life, you embrace it and you navigate through it, because that's what life has to offer you. And the fact that you're alive and you get to experience it is the gift, whether it at the time seems enjoyable or not.
Do you think people are wrong for chasing happiness?
I mean, it's a fleeting thing. You can chase it. You chase things that you can't catch. You don't chase things that belong to you.
Yeah.
Right? So people chase happiness because they think that that's what they need, when in reality, happiness is just a byproduct of becoming the best version of yourself. So instead of chasing the emotion, become the type of person that is experiencing that emotion, and you can be in that state more consistently.
And people would link generally happiness to a lot of money or a lot of fame, right? That's what people generally lean towards. What do people not know about having the money and how it doesn't really fulfill you in terms of the happiness?
It's not the money. What is money? What is fame? It's just leverage. What people want is leverage. Leverage to be able to do what they want, say what they want, have what they want whenever they want. Freedom. That's what people want. Today, we just happen to have different tools in order to get them. But once again, 500 years ago, I could have all the money in the world. A warlord could come in, take over my land, and no amount of money would take care of me. He would just take it and pillage it. So money isn't necessarily the ultimate beacon of what people are actually looking for. People are looking for leverage to become free. And you don't need much to be free. You don't need much in order to have leverage. You need to have financial stability, not be in debt, have net positive income versus your expenditure, and give yourself this time, space, freedom to be able to create, think, and find solutions to new possibilities and find alternatives to a better life. It's about removing the static. That's the freedom. That's the freedom. You can do it and achieve it with very little. The peasants back in the feudal age, they only worked 140 days out of the year. When we call people peasants here, they get mad. They're working more than the peasants used to. It's even worse.
Wow. Is fame something that you, now being in the position that you're in now, I think you're quite well positioned in terms of fame. You have a lot of leverage. Do you think now, past this point where you're at, if you continue to grow, you think it's going to start having some more negative effects than positive effects?
Depends on if I'm ready for it. It all depends on if you can handle the pressure, you can handle the heat. It's what it takes to get to the top. There's people fighting for it.
There's a theory I learned about recently called a panopticon, and it's the way a prison is set up, right? And they have a central tower, and then the guard is in the center of the tower, and all the cells are surrounding it, and the guard has a light that he shines on all the people. So the prisoners can't tell when they're being looked at. So that means they alter their behavior at all times to behave. And that's what some people have compared fame to. So when you're in the public eye, you have to alter your behavior at all times. Do you feel that way?
No, you just have to make sure that the person that's in front of the camera is the person that's behind the camera.
Mm-hmm.
Most people are just fake.
Agreed.
There you go. So just don't be fake.
Yeah.
You have nothing to hide, you're chilling.
And related to that that's how I feel like the government operates, is we police ourselves through fear. So it's kind of like becoming the invisible eye, like George Orwell's 1984. How much do you think that concept of we're being watched and digital surveillance and whatnot, I heard you speak about something about China recently. How much do you think that's going to come into play, firstly, in the Western world, and how do you think it affects our behavior?
I mean, most people are slaves. Most people are NPCs. Most people operate on autopilot. Most people are out here doing and saying what other people have told them to do and say. So in the future, if we assume that people are not going to act the same way that they did in COVID is a fallacy. Most people forget, most people are stupid, and most people repeat the same behavior and action that the government tells them to do. That's how they're programmed. So for the mass majority of people, unless they've already woken up to the COVID scam, they're probably going to fall for the next one. So I'm just hopeful for the people that are now realizing all the BS and the nonsense that's taking place in the system. But for the ones that haven't woken up to it yet, I don't know, man. Not very hopeful.
Do you think that Big Brother digital surveillance is coming here?
It's coming, bro. That's why, like I said, I'm not hopeful, because they pandered and they caved to every single demand. Mm-hmm. Which means once digital surveillance rolls in, these are going to be the first people to adopt it. In Germany, that's what they did. You had to be triple vaccinated, digital ID in order for you to eat at a fucking restaurant. It was unacceptable. But most people agreed to it. It is what it is. Nazis do what Nazis do.
I think it's undeniable, especially with AI and whatnot.
So what do you have to do? Get rich. Moral of the story here, ladies and gentlemen. Seek first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and then all the rest of the things will be added unto you. Divine mindset first.
Agreed. I think intellect not only demands solitude, but it feeds on it. I think you are the product of who you are, like when no one is watching, essentially. How pivotal is that season in your life, and how often do you seek solitude?
It's interesting. A lot of people are afraid of being alone, because they think that being alone means that you're lonely. I was walking down the streets here in London, and there was a homeless man. It said, hungry and lonely. And I'm like, sometimes, I slept in my car, but I never felt lonely. I was with myself, because I developed a relationship with myself. So solitude is extremely important, because most people don't create the time, the space in order to converse with themselves, in order to think, in order to get to know who they are. Know thyself. Mm-hmm. Why? Because if you know yourself, you know your tendencies, you know your habits, you know your behaviors, you know what you're good at, you're bad at, what's your weakness, what's your strength. You can develop a strategy, a plan to build yourself up. If you don't know who you are, you don't know where you're going, you're going to end up in limbo. Mm-hmm. Solitude is key, because it creates the silence and the space in order for you to grow. Mm-hmm. And in the darkness, putting in the work, in the quiet hours, that's where winning is made.
Yeah. I always refer to the example of, just on the last note, about how you have to keep creating into the void, and the void is the dark place, right? You don't know where you're going, where you're looking, until it only takes one flicker of ember of light, and then it illuminates your whole path.
That can be completely different, right? Like, okay, this can be the ember of light for everybody, which is, if I was to take you to the top of any yacht and we went to the captain's deck, And I said, hey, Captain, I want to go from Miami to Jamaica. I want to go to this port specifically. Do you know how to get there? Within 10, 15 seconds, maybe 30 seconds, he would tell me what port we're going to and how we're getting there. Mm-hmm. For 99% of the journey, he will not see the port of arrival, but he knows where he's going. You just have to follow the steps.
Yeah.
So you don't have to, it's not this darkness. No, there's no confusion. It's very clear. Once you know what you want, just do retroactive steps on how to get there. You're not special. I'm not special. We're not the first to succeed. Millions have succeeded in the past. So can we. What have they done that allowed them to succeed? Let me replicate it. Mm-hmm. Simplicity in pattern recognition, simplicity in optimizing the behaviors of others. That's what we are. We're only better than the past generation. We're only stacking, right, on past generations. Technology is advancing based off of the stacking of what? Knowledge. So we stack this knowledge, we implement it, we become better people. Glitch into the matrix, bro.
Beautiful note to end it on, man. All right. That's your time, right?
Thanks for having me.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate it, man. Pleasure.
Yes, thank you.
Okay.